What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for another Tottenham update today. And Spurs Twitter and the Spurs fan base in absolute meltdown at the moment as Paul O'Keefe gave us an update this morning regarding David Raya. And he says Spurs look set to pull out of any deal for David Raya as they explore other options. Sean Walsh of 90 Minutes says that Tottenham have told David Raya they could walk away from talks with Brentford due to the 40 million asking price. Neither side budging in negotiations, and Spurs are considering other names such as Gregor Kobel, Vicario and Robert Sanchez from Brighton. So it looks as though Spurs could well walk away from the David Raya deal if they can't come to an agreement on the price. Brentford not budging on the 40 million. Spurs don't want to pay that. They want to pay more of a fee aligned to what we paid for Bissouma last year, 25 million. Paul O'Keefe did go on to say as well that Spurs do have a history of this, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. In cases where it did work was Pedro Porro, Christian Romero, but there are many, many cases where it didn't work as well. So, Brian, what is your reaction?
Like I said to you, it's like he knows I'm coming into the studio, and it's like, let's just throw a pipe bomb in there. Let's address this. Few things. Is he worth £40 million is the first thing you got to think of. In today's market, who knows where you want to look at it. But as I said when I was here with Simeon last week, is he worth 40 million to Tottenham Hotspur right now? I totally believe he is. If you look at it, he's homegrown. If you look at it, he knows it. He speaks English, lives in London. There's no settling. He was one of the best goalkeepers in the league. And we're in a predicament where we need to pay for quality. And there's no doubt he is quality, but here we go, we won't pay it. And then something Stelios said when I was with Stelios yesterday and speaking to him today. We have become a football club and a fan base that now talk about the financial aspects of any single deal. It's not, oh, this guy's quality, get him in. It's, oh no, no one should be doing this in their right mind. Look at the money, look at it. I care about the quality on the pitch. And does he bring quality? Yes, he most certainly does. We saw in the stats. Sometimes you have to pay the price, and we need a goalkeeper very, very badly. And the goalkeepers you just mentioned, apart from Roberto Sanchez at Brighton, might as well get Danny Rose and Google back out, because I haven't got a clue anymore. Why is it every single time this is meant to be the number one target, and this happens again? Whether it's tactics or not, this is another case where Daniel Levy isn't doing himself any favours, where once again he's making himself to look like, oh, I'm the big man, I know what to do. If this deal falls through, we're in big trouble again, and it's all at his door.
For me, it's very easy to get angry and irate at the situation where a situation that keeps creeping up over and over again. And yes, we do get targets over the line. Yes, we do miss out on targets, but I like to judge things maybe when it's all said and done and when we've seen exactly who we've brought in. Maybe not right at the end of the window, but at least once pre-season has come or once they go on the tour or something like that. I genuinely believe that this is tactics for Spurs to trying to scare Brentford into lowering the price or something like that. Like I said before, like Paul O'Keefe said before, we did it with Pedro Porro, we did it with Cuti Romero. We got those deals over the line. They're two quality players that we brought in and players that we needed in those specific positions. I think David Raya, I've made it no secret that he's my number one choice who I want in goal. And I've said as well in the past that I think that we should just go and spend that 40 million. But if we do get him over the line for a cheaper deal than 40 million, for 30 million, 25, 35, that'll be seen as a great deal for Tottenham Hotspur. And just because this report has come out today from Paul O'Keefe saying that Spurs look set to pull out of the deal. Firstly, he doesn't say that Spurs have pulled out the deal. They look set to pull out the deal. What that means to me, I think they're literally putting feelers out, trying to tell Brentford, look, if you're not going to meet us halfway or at least negotiate with us, then we will look at other targets and we will move away from the David Raya deal. David Raya, we all know from previous reports that he wants to move to Tottenham. Personal terms have been agreed with Tottenham. Brentford know that they need to sell him as well because he's got 1 year left. He's made it so clear in the media that he wants to leave, and he thinks that Brentford should be lowering the price as well. Not just Spurs think that. He thinks that that Brentford are pricing him out a deal in the market. So I think that people just need to be a bit more patient on this one. I think that whether it gets done or not, it's going to be a kick in the teeth if it doesn't get done. That's 100% true. It will be a massive kick in the teeth, and I'll lay into Levy as much as I will, because to get someone that's readily available, that really wants to come, that's as quality as he is, and if you don't get him through the line, you're going to be looking at a keeper of lesser quality, most likely. But I wouldn't just throw my toys out the pram just yet, in my opinion.
Listen, if Spurs get this deal over the line, I will be the first one, as you know, to say, well done, Tottenham, great deal. You did what you needed to be done. But the way I look at it, are we going to risk losing out on a player for £5-10 million and then someone else go and get him? Or we go for second-hand FC, we go for bargain bucket, we look for the cheaper deal? Then I'm going to be furious. But there's a very good chance this deal could get over the line. But we've got a new manager, and we're told that he's going to be in control of footballing decisions. And here we go, number one target alongside Maddison. This happens, and there's no smoke without fire when this happens. If this deal gets done, fantastic. But for this to happen 11 days before we go back to training, desperately, we were the team that had goalkeepers that made the most errors leading to goals in the Premier League last season. It's a desperate situation that we're in to get this done, and it's the same old thing again and again. And if someone does go, do you know what, Spurs have let it go, let's do it, and he goes for 40 million, then what?
Look, if we let this deal go for a case of 10-15 million, then I'll be super pissed. I really will be. And it frustrates me when I see news like this coming in the press. It really does. But I kind of can see it from the other way as well, where I do believe that Spurs are using it as a bargaining chip to try and get Brentford to lower the fee. When you're looking at other clubs that are coming in for him, there are not that many other options for him right now. There are not many options that Brentford are getting bids for. Man United, I think, have been linked with him this window, but again, they've also said that they're not going to be meeting that 40 million valuation. So what other clubs are there? Chelsea have gone on record and saying that Kepa's going to be the number one for next season. So, I mean, what other options are there at the moment inside the Premier League?
Well, it may not even be the Premier League. There's other teams in Europe that have been mooshing around. Obviously, the finances aren't as affluent as Tottenham. But the other thing I'm hearing as well, and we spoke about it earlier, when people are saying he will become the fifth highest priced goalkeeper. And football evolves. Like when we bought Lloris, it was a sweeper keeper, and now it's playing out from the back keeper. 15, 20 years ago, would PSG have paid £200 million for Neymar? No. Football and the finances evolved. So if he becomes the fourth richest or fifth richest, most priciest goalkeeper, why don't you think Man U worried about that when Rio Ferdinand became the most expensive defender in the world? No, they didn't. They paid for quality. And unfortunately, in this day and age, and with football, you have to pay for quality. And like I said to you before, if people do their research on Brentford, they're in no need to sell. They may want to sell to get him off for finances rather than free, but Brentford are an absolutely incredibly well-run football club. And their riches that they're coining in for still being in the Premier League and everything that comes with it, they are not a club that needs to sell to get the finances up and running. They're not like Everton. You look at Leicester, like I said to you earlier, that said to Harry Maguire, you can go, but the price is 85 million. You pay 85 million, or the Man you pay 85 million, you go. Like Van Dijk with 75 million. The team's paid it and they got their man. This is what you need to do sometimes.
Yeah, no, I agree. There's nothing I disagree with that, but I would just say, just because this news has come out today doesn't mean that this transfer isn't going to happen, is what I'm trying to say. It's just it still very much could happen, and I think this is a bargaining chip. It's a risky bargaining chip to play. Yes, it is a risky game to play. We have missed out on targets doing this before, but we have also got targets over the line before. Pedro Porro and Coutinho Romero, don't tell me that there were no suitors as well for those players.
No, you're right. You're right.
I think this deal could very much still happen, and I think David Raya wants it to happen, Tottenham want it to happen, and I think Brentford want it to happen as well. It's just about coming to an agreement where Brentford aren't willing to budge. Tottenham look like they're not really willing to budge as well. I think Tottenham probably are willing to budge in a sense that they don't want to pay 40 million, they don't want to budge on that, but they will come to some sort of agreement with Brentford if they're willing participants. But you've got to be willing participants.
I have to say one thing in closing with this. I have to say this stadium, real game changer.
Yeah.
Real game changer for everything that it's going to open up and the opportunities it's going to bring and the finances it's going to hold and the extra events that go on that was all going back into the club and is going to help the first team. Real game changer.
I think since moving into the stadium, we have spent a lot more money than previously. You can't say we haven't.
I'm not upset, but what should happen now is when players like this, again, genuine quality come up, and we have it. It's not even an opportunity that we're waiting to arise. That famous saying, this is a player we desperately need, in a position we desperately need covering, or we need a new, not forget cover, we need a new number one. There's certain times where, yeah, right, you may think 40 million's high, but to say, oh, do you know what, we may walk away because you're not playing ball. It's funny how when Daniel Levy wants to sell players, they have to pay a certain fee and not a penny less before they get out the door. But when the shoe's on the other foot, no, I'm to try and be the big bad wolf and bargain. And it's happening again.
Well, we'll see how this one plays out. But at the moment, Spurs are threatening to walk away from the David Raya deal for not meeting Brentford's 40 million valuation of the player. I do think it's just a case of, I genuinely believe it's just a case of first one to blink and a game of poker really at the moment between Tottenham and Brentford, which means we might lose out on our target, and it'll be very frustrating if we do, because he is the one that we have earmarked to bring in as our number one English quota. He fits every single box, ticks every single box that Tottenham want as a goalkeeper. But I'm sure we'll hear more of this in the coming days. So that's David Raya. In terms of keepers that we could be looking at, Paul O'Keefe has mentioned, I'm not going to even try and pronounce that first name, but he goes by the name of Vicario. He plays for Empoli in Italy, and he is one of the names under considerations as an alternative goalkeeper alongside one other leading candidate. He played for Italy during the week. He's a keeper that's really coming into maybe his prime as a goalkeeper right now. Very tall, very good with his feet. He ticks a lot of boxes as well. I mean, the only one he doesn't tick really is probably Premier League experience and the English quota. But having looked into him a bit this morning, I actually think he could be a really good option for us.
Okay, Danny, can you just Google Vicario for me, please, mate? I just don't get it. These players come out the woodwork. I don't think many people would have heard of him unless you're a big follower of Italian football or the Italian national team. You got to add to that as well with the things that we don't know about. Will his family settle in London? Will his family feel comfortable in London? For me, again, it's just another cheaper option or alternative for not getting the number one target.
Yeah, but you have to have a list, don't you? You can't just rely on just one target, can you?
With that, you got a point. With that, you got a point. I will say that, but these players aren't of the stature. Surely there's other goalkeepers that you've spoken about on this channel. Now, I don't know the greatest goalkeepers in Europe. I don't watch as much European football as I used to, but there's other quality keepers about. Mm-hmm. And here we go with Vicario. I mean, the one you did mention, Sanchez, who I was very impressed with at Brighton at the beginning of the season, but obviously something happened there with De Zerbi.
I'm not a fan, really.
But I was a fan of him at the start of the season. Not saying that. I mean, another one that Ryan Isaacs talks about a lot is the Liverpool second goalkeeper.
Kelleher.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd prefer this guy over Kelleher and Sanchez, to be honest. So
there you go. I mean, like I said, I'm not going to comment on this guy entirely because I have absolutely no clue who he is. No clue. But have they spoke about a fee or anything like that?
No, nothing like that. It's just saying that there's interest there, plus one other candidate there, unnamed.
We'll wait and see.
All right, let's talk about Heung-min Son now, because a lot of news was breaking on Sonny last night. Really interesting, to say the least. James Ollie says that Al Ittihad in Saudi are ready to submit an opening bid of 60 million euros plus bonuses for Tottenham forward Heung-min Son. Son has been offered a 4-year contract worth 30 million euros per season and are optimistic he will accept. He then later on tweeted that night saying that Tottenham are not open to listening to offers for Heung-min Son. ESPN says sources have told ESPN that Spurs are not ready to listen to any offers for Son at the time. Sung-mo Lee, who is a very reliable South Korean journalist, says that Tottenham would not consider any offers for less than 100 million for Heung-min Son. The striker loves playing in the Premier League and living in London and eager to show what he can do next season. It's way too early for Son to consider moving to Saudi. Sky Sports says that Tottenham are not interested in selling Heung-min Son amid reports of an incoming £50 million bid from a Saudi Arabian team. And Fabrizio Romano this morning tweeted saying that Tottenham have absolutely no intention to sell Son despite rumours with Saudi clubs. It's not part of the plans and they they've not received any concrete bids at this stage. Son looks determined to continue at Tottenham Hotspur. So, I mean, what do you think it's the right time to sell Sonny?
No.
What's your opinion on this whole Saudi bid?
So, yes, I think there's truth behind it from Saudi Arabia's side. Something's going on with Saudi Arabia, like we said, with the Chinese league. It's a carbon copy. Something very unethical and wrong is happening here. I think Spurs have when you're going through those headlines, Spurs have no interest in entertaining ideas, and then you heard it, unless it hits 100 million. I think if it hits 100 million, Spurs may have their ears pricked up and may listen, but there's no way you're getting Human Son for £50 million or 50, whatever the fee was. But people have got to remember the amount of revenue he brings in off the pitch, the amount of fans that come to see him and adore him, the amount of merchandise he sells, the amount of sponsorship he brings in from that part of the world. 50 million is not even scratching the surface of what he does. And I actually believe next season, after we've heard the revelation of his injury issues last season, we'll get the sum from 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years back, and 50, 60 million ain't even a jot on it. I think this has got more legs to happen next summer.
Yeah, I mean, we did hear, I can't remember who the journalist was, saying that Sonny could be moving to Saudi at the end of this season, not now.
Yep.
But in terms of Sonny, 30 years old, do you think 1 more year, 2 more years? Like, how many more years do you reckon he's got at the top?
I don't know, but also, I think you've got to look at it as the further the window goes. If we don't get our targets, these are all big ifs. If Harry Kane was to leave, does he sit round and go, well, wait a minute, and I'm sorry, it doesn't matter where you are, £30 million a year.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it doesn't matter who you are. That spikes your interest. Listen, we all know Son loves Tottenham Hotspur and his love for the fans and the Premier League. I can't see it happening, but certain things could align to make this a lot more big ifs.
With those wages that they're offering, 30 million a year, obviously it's something that Spurs are never going to offer someone like Sonny at 30 years old anyway, or anyone, to be honest. But
Exactly.
But especially someone at 30 years old at Heung-min Son. Do you think that if a bid came in of 100 million, that we should sell?
Yes.
So is that the cut-off point?
I think you have to look at it for. I think personally this summer we bring in 1 or 2 from the Far East anyway. They may not be as elite level as Heung-min Son. In fact, they won't be as elite level as Heung-min Son unless they were Kim and Jae. But there will be that other market that, and I'm not saying it for that. I think with Angie's knowledge of that game, we could see a few people come in from the Far East, which I'm all for. But 100 million for a 30-year-old. But again, it's like, will we be able to do a Coutinho and spend the money wisely? But what about you? 100 million? Are you a yes?
I mean, it's something you'd have to seriously consider, because 100 million is so much for a 30-year-old. But like you said, Son brings in so much revenue from so many different sources. I think you probably would have to seriously consider it. It'll pain me to see Sonny go, especially to the Saudi league at this stage of his career, because I still think he's got so many more years to give big things. But that opportunity probably is only going to come around once to get that much of a big fee for him now. So if we spend the money wisely, I'd be open to doing it. But if we're going to do sell Elvis and buy the Beatles, then I probably wouldn't be up for it.
Yeah, but you've also got to remember the amount of sheer players they're buying. It's not like he's going there to be the icon. There are so many good players going there. Even Ruben Neves, which surprised me at his age for going there. If they keep buying like the Benzema, Ronaldo's obviously there.
It's worrying what's going on with the Saudi league.
Yeah,
it really
if
is.
they keep signing a lot of top players, you got to remember Pele and George Best went to the MLS.
Yeah.
They went. This is when the MLS was nowhere near the standard and stature it is now. So if they keep buying big players and then big money comes, that league becomes a lot more competitive. And financial, there's no doubt the financial rewards will be the leader in this. But like I said, for 100 million, if Son was 27, I wouldn't even entertain it. But at 30, I think we'd have to.
Yeah, but not 50, 60 million, no chance.
Not even at 80. Even at 80.
Yeah, I agree. Let's move on. Let's talk about Pierre-Emile Højbjerg. Matty Moretto says that Højbjerg could be a possible market name for Atletico Madrid this summer. I think he would fit them really well, to be honest, Pierre-Emile Højbjerg. And For a good fee, would you be willing to sell him?
You know my love for Pierre-Emile Højbjerg.
I do know your love.
I was disappointed with him in the second half of the season. I think, like you said, if there's a player designed for Diego Simeone, look no further than Pierre-Emile Højbjerg. What we've got to remember with this guy is he's very Marmite at the moment, isn't he? But you tell me a player that's played pretty much every single minute of every single game for 3 years straight.
Harry Kane?
Every single minute of every...
Pretty much.
I think they'd be close, actually. I think they'd be close. But yeah, I
Harry
think,
Kane doesn't seem to slow down.
Yeah, I think when we look at it now, I think the centre of this midfield right now, with Papa Matasar, who you and me are big fans of, my boy Alfie Devine hopefully getting more minutes, Basuma, Skip, Bentancur, please God, coming back, and it will take a while. I think in the midfield we can afford to let one go. And if you look at our midfield, I think the biggest one that can bring in the biggest transfer fee and return on investment is Pierre-Emile Højbjerg. And I've always said, even though he was my favourite player, if you can get better quality in, or you can use that money to get better quality in, then we've got to stop being sentimental.
Yeah.
And we've got to do what we've got to do for the better of this football club. And if Atletico Madrid come in and it's a fee that's decent, he's got to go.
Yeah, unfortunately, I do agree. I mean, I like Højbjerg, but I've said it a few times now on this channel. I feel like what you're saying is true, and he's the one in that midfield that can generate money and that could be upgraded on. But I also kind of feel like if he was to leave, that leaves a massive leadership void in this squad.
Yep, there is that.
Because you're thinking about it now. We want Dyer out. Hugo Lloris is going to go. Harry Kane's 1 year left in his contract. So what other leaders are there actually in this squad?
I think Bentancur could become one. But obviously
he's out until November.
Until Christmas. Don't know what's happening with Perisic. I think Perisic...
You can't count on him as a leader.
On the pitch we may, but I think for his quality and experience, if you're looking at that team and for what they've achieved, he's done a lot. Apart from
he's going to go.
I think he's going to go, but I mean, I'm saying if he is there, I think he's one. But you are right; it will put a massive leadership hole in there, and again, it's open to who comes in. But if Pierre-Emile Højbjerg goes, I'll be upset. But I'll understand why. Like you said, leadership qualities and what he does in dependability for Tottenham is second to none. But like I said, we've got to stop this sentimentality. And if the fee comes in and Ange can do something with the money, we have to do it.
But that's what I'm saying. It's not just sentimentality with this one because of the massive void it will leave in terms of leadership within the squad. Because we've seen in past when... Arsenal squad, for example, when they had absolutely no leadership in their team. Look at the way they went.
True.
You need leaders on that pitch. It's not just about having individuals on that pitch and quality. You need leaders there as well.
Well, there's no leadership at the board, is there? There's no leadership off the pitch. Let's mirror it on the pitch. But no, you raise a very, very good point. Again, this comes to who he brings in, doesn't it?
Yeah, but can you just sign a leader? Surely that leader needs to have time to get the trust and whatever of the other team and the members of the squad.
I think there may be certain players, I mean, I can't think of any off the top of my head, that can come in that Ange may have known through his career, that knows how he plays, know how he trains, know what he's about, that could come in and have a big impact in that department. Obviously, he's got to gain the trust and respect of the other teams, other players, sorry. But it's another predicament we're in, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because of years of neglect.
And last but not least, let's move on and talk about Harry Kane. Matt Law says that some of Kane's England teammates believe that the 29-year-old is ready for a new challenge, but the market might not move without him giving it a shove. But as he's tried to do in the past, as he tried to do 2 years ago. So apparently, Harry Kane is not going to force a move this summer because he knows at the end of next season he can go anywhere for free. That's the only reason why he's not going to force a move. And I can see exactly why would Harry Kane... There's no reason for Kane to force a move this summer. First of all, Daniel Levy's going to be commanding too much money for him, 100 million minimum for someone 29 turning 30 this season. What need is there for someone to spend 100 million when he's on a free next summer?
This is the thing. See, I didn't know this one was coming, and we spoke just before, and I said I've been one throughout the end of the season and up until recently saying I think he's gone. But I'm kind of recently I've been going to the other side of the fence thinking he's staying. And then when you see a story like this come out, it worries me. It worries me. It really does concern me.
What do you think the best thing to do, though? Like, do you think the best thing is to hold out for this crazy 100 million for a guy in his last year of his contract, 29 years of age? Or do you think it is best to roll the dice and see what happens?
Oh, it's such a hard... I mean, I've got a feeling that, let's say this is coming into late August, that 100 may drop to 90 or drop to 85, whatever, and then a team might be more willing to pay that. You signed Harry Kane. It reminds me, and I'm going to use Man U when they signed Van Persie. Same kind of last year of his contract. Arsenal needed to cash in. He went there, and what did he do? He won the league. I think if an opportunity comes up, it's down to whether the club or Harry Kane says, "Do you know what? This is coming. It's time." I'm still going to stick to my side, the side of the fence that you're on, and saying this ain't going to happen.
Yeah, I don't think it's happening. I think he will leave for free at the end of next season. I just can't see him in any sort of realm of him signing a new deal. Yep. And I don't see why he would, to be honest, with the way we're going. But I think if an offer comes in, I think we need to seriously consider it, because if we know he's going to leave anyway, why just delay the process? What's the point? If you can get a good fee and some good money in for him, we may as well do that, and then we can use that money to stop using that painful rebuild. As much as it's going to hurt Harry Kane leaving this football club, we need to do what's best for the football club, and that is getting money for him.
Yeah, and you have to look at it as well. When Harry Kane wakes up this morning, there's no doubt he would have seen or been told about the Paul O'Keefe news that's dropped. And he's sitting there and he's like, okay, so that one might be falling through. Obviously, he'll know a lot more than we do.
I don't think he's waiting for Paul O'Keefe by any chance.
No, but you know what I mean? The rumours would have got back, whatever, but he'll know more. If James Maddison doesn't come through the door, you and me have spoken about it. If players are that quality...
I actually think Maddison will happen.
But I'm saying if those kind of things don't happen, if they don't, these are all ifs. Maybe he says, you know what, it's another summer here. This has happened again. That's it. It's just a game of cat and mouse, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's Tom and Jerry all over, and we'll just have to wait and see. But like I said, I was very, very adamant that he was going to leave this summer. I'm more on the side of the fence that he's going to stay, but things like this can be quite concerning.
Yeah, well, look, there you have it. That is your Tottenham update for today. Very worrying news on the Raya situation. I mean, we just don't ever make it easy for ourselves. We can never just go into transfer negotiations to just get a deal done. It's always this game of bloody poker or cat and mouse or whatever you want to call it. It's never simple with Tottenham Hotspur, and that's the frustrating thing, I think, for most fans. But I don't think this deal is dead by any stretch of the imagination. And look, Raya wants to move, Tottenham wants to move, Brentford probably want the move as well. But things don't happen that way. Things are not so simple at Tottenham Hotspur. So I wouldn't go over the edge and go too crazy about it just yet until we hear some more info and some more news about it. I believe it's a bargaining chip that could work in our favour or against us. If it works against us, then I think every fan has the right to be angry. But if it works for us, then it'll probably be a really good deal for Tottenham Hotspur. So we'll have to wait and see how this one works out. But that is your Tottenham update today. Everyone do go subscribe to Tottenham on Tour as well. And we'll see you all very soon. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always, come on you Spurs.